Hello, I'm Vince White. I'm an employment attorney. I'm answering publicly posted questions on avo.com. And here is the question. I want to negotiate a settlement for myself. I mean, what's so hard about it? Or what's so intimidating? Or what's the special magic to it? I have a case with the human rights for sexual harassment. Sorry, it's a little disjointed here. For sexual harassment, hostile work environment, hundreds of sexually explicit, unwelcome texts from a direct manager for 8 months, ending with him throwing pens at me and punching his desk until eventually I just ran out one day. They, of course, never punished him since I left out of fear, to be honest. I demanded unemployment, being 8 months pregnant, and they gave it. I reported to the human rights. The investigator kept telling me to get a lawyer, but to tell the lawyer you just want to negotiate a settlement. Why can't I negotiate a settlement for myself is what I'm wondering. I have all the legal elements required. This lady wants a year to tell me, this making it 2 years since it even happened. So, sorry, I'm having a little trouble understanding the question. How could getting a lawyer now help at all? Okay. For all we know, these people are out of business now because of COVID anyway. Can I send them a negotiation settlement letter and pretend I represent myself? Can't human rights just do their job? Why don't they ever want to do their job? Because they're government employees. That's why they don't want to do their job. Am I missing something here in this? It's an aerospace company with only $400,000 to $500,000 in monthly revenue, just under 100 employees. Will COVID, them closing, make it impossible as well? Okay, so there's a lot going on here. In a way, you're right. So you don't need an attorney in most states to deal with human rights, right? There's human rights agencies all over the country, different states, different counties, different localities. And generally speaking, you don't need an attorney. You don't have to send them some kind of fake letter and pretend you're representing yourself. You are allowed to be what's called pro se. You can, in fact, just say, hey, I'm a layperson, I'm not an attorney, but because this is my case and I'm representing myself, I am pro se, and I'm allowed to speak for myself. That is, generally speaking, going to be a right that you have. And there are differences in every state. I can't speak to the state laws. I can only speak to the federal here. But generally speaking, you're probably going to be able to represent yourself. Confirm that on the local level, but that's probably the case. Now, I'll say this. It is pretty difficult to understand your question. And I assume you're just being quick. You were jotting this down, right? But it's very disjointed. If, in communicating with the other side about settlement, this is the way you're communicating, they're going to feel very arrogant. They're going to feel like you're not going to be great at sharing your story, right? Because you have a claim. It sounds like you actually went through a lot, right? And please don't be insulted by this. This is not what you do for a living. It's not your job. So it shouldn't be insulting to you that this is probably not the best way to convey what happened to you. It's probably not the most convincing, clear, concise version of your claim. People spend their entire lives learning how to do that. That is the value, in part, of an attorney. They understand the law really well, and they understand the best way to share your claim and to make it persuasive so that people want to give you money, whether that's in settlement or ultimately in a judgment, right? Now, listen, don't get me wrong. I think you did a good job. I think you could represent yourself. I think you could tell the investigator you want to make a demand, by all means. Do I think that COVID put out of business an aerospace company making $400,000 to $500,000 in revenue a month? No, I don't think so. I think they're hurting, but aerospace companies are probably not going to be impacted. And I assume when you say an aerospace company, you're talking about plane manufacturer, right? Sure, it's been impacted. Everything that flies that's not purchased by the government has been impacted. Every private airline is impacted, right? But probably they have contracts going out months, if not years, if they're selling to private airlines, or if they have government contracts, they're probably not being hurt at all. So yes, do I think that they can still pay you? I absolutely do. 100. I don't doubt it. So, you have a valuable claim. You've been through a lot. There's a lot an attorney could do to help you. And generally speaking, statistically speaking, in my experience, people with attorneys get exponentially more, 3, 4, 10 times more than they would get on their own. But they also pay the attorney at the end, right? If you're giving an attorney, whether it's 33%, 40%, whatever you're giving this attorney, well, if you get yourself 50 grand and the attorney gets you 100 grand, but now you got to give the attorney 33%, so 33,000, right? I mean, are you better off? Objectively, yes. You have more money in your pocket than you would have had if you didn't have an attorney, and you had to do less work, right? Someone else did a lot of the heavy lifting for you. Is that beneficial? Yeah. Objectively, it is. You have more money and you did less work. But, well, let's say this. You got yourself 50 grand. You hire an attorney. He only gets you 10 grand more. He only gets you 60 grand, right? Now the attorney, he, she, whoever, wants a third of the 60 grand. Well, now you're worse off, right? To your point, you're actually worse off because you're going to be paying this attorney a third, and they didn't actually benefit you enough to make it worthwhile. Do I think that's likely? No. I think it's possible. Yeah, of course. Of course, you're an intelligent person. It very well could be the case. So you're taking a risk if you hire an attorney. I think it's a smart risk. I think statistically speaking, you're going to be way better off. I think your case will be handled better. I think it'll be potentially worth more. I think you'll potentially get more in settlement. That is generally true in this field, right? That having an attorney who does this for a living, does this over and over and over and over again. I mean, in our firm's case, hundreds of times a year. That's valuable. That's very helpful. But you don't, generally speaking, need an attorney. You have the right to engage in settlement negotiations on your own behalf when you're an employee. This investigator cannot force you to get an attorney. What the investigator may actually be doing is you may have conveyed a demand that the investigator thinks is too high, and the investigator wants you to get an attorney so you understand how damages are calculated. I see that happen a lot, right? Because people will say, I'll take $30 million. Well, no, that's not how any of this works, right? There's formulas. We make videos. I have a number of videos in the channel about how damages are calculated under the federal laws and under New York state laws. Different in every state. Gotta check on your own jurisdiction for the state laws. Can't speak to your state's laws. But I can tell you how they're calculated under federal law, generally speaking, right? And that could be useful to you. I've seen investigators say, you got to get an attorney. You're not being realistic. You give me crazy numbers. I'm not saying this is you. I'm saying I've seen investigators do this. Maybe that's what the investigator's doing here. She or he is really pushing you to get an attorney, it sounds like. There's probably a reason for that. You can also just ask. You can just be like, hey, investigator, why all the pressure to get an attorney? You think I'm going to get more? You think I'm going to get less? You think I need a reality check? Why? Have a conversation. You can ask any question if you can accept the answer. I just have a feeling that might be going on here. I obviously don't know. I'm not present. I don't know you. I don't know the investigator. I don't know the specifics of the claim. I only know what you gave me here in this question. I hope this helps. I want to stress, and I hope you're not annoyed with me. I want to stress, if you have more questions, if you do go the route representing yourself, and you have generalized questions that do not deal with state law, but deal with federal law or deal with the field in general, I would be happy to answer those questions free of charge for you. I'm not trying to tell you need an attorney. Just telling you you're probably better off with an attorney. But you're the boss. You are the decider. Make the decision, right? I hope this is helpful. And if it was helpful, consider, if you want to give me the like and the subscribe, helps me help more people just like you. Take care.